Wednesday, November 4th, 2020 at 7:30. The first item on the business is the roll call. I guess I can just read it out. We have David Hooverman, Barbara Smith, Tom Keegan, Greg Burnett, and Kadeem Roberts, and did I miss anybody? And myself, Tom Livingston, the chair. So we have 100% participation and a quorum. So with that, we'll move to the public hearing on the naming of portion of Norwalk City Hall first floor corridor leading to the Norwalk Community Room after Ms. Anita Benkin, long-serving member of the Norwalk Symphony Board of Governors. Is there anyone in attendance who would like to speak to that topic?
Yes, it looks like I have a Diane Lotzarella with her hands raised, so I could go ahead and give her the floor.
Please do. Diane, speak when you're ready.
Diane, go ahead and unmute yourself.
Diane?
I'm sorry, I did not see the unmute button. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, I'm confused about the agenda. Is there going to be, in addition to the Anita Benkin discussion, is then there a chance for the public to speak on the other agenda items, or are they combined?
There is. Yeah, Diane, there will be right after we'll close the public hearing, then open public participation.
Okay, so on the item for public hearing, I met Miss Anita Benkin when she was the landlady of a person that I was dating. I got to know her mainly though because she is the sister of Tish Gibbs. And so over the years, I would attend as many of the Newark Symphony programs that I could afford or attend. And she has been a long-serving, wonderful person. At first, I wondered why they didn't want a stage to be named after Anita, but I'll leave it up to the family, the symphony, as well as all of you to, of course, discuss the proposal at hand. But I just wanted to give my wholehearted support of whatever part of the building you decide to name after Anita. I think it's a wonderful honor. Thank you. And I'll speak later to the agenda items.
Tom, you're muted.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who has signed up to speak at the public hearing?
There are currently no other public participants.
And Alan, you did not receive anything in writing? Anything new in writing, I should say.
No, I didn't receive anything else. Is Louis going to speak? I'm not. Okay, if he doesn't speak, I'm not asking him.
Well,
we would happily.
Sure. I want to thank Diane for her support. Diane, I think the reason that we didn't talk about the hall was because the hall itself is named for the organization that donated a lot of money to recreating it 30 years ago when we redid it. So we were looking to particularly honor Anita for her involvement with hospitality, with both the Youth Symphony, with the Norwalk Symphony, in her role as a board member and as a convener of the public, because that portion of the hallway leads specifically to the community room, which is where we hold our post-concert events. And so that's why we focused on that particular area. I see Chris Bell is on the call here as our board president and Lou Brody as our board vice president. We are very grateful to the Land Use Committee for entertaining this idea. And I don't know if they have anything else to add to it, but Diane, I hope that answers your question about why we didn't talk about the stage or the hall.
Hi, this is Lou Brody speaking, and I want to second what Sandra and Diane both said. I've been a member of the board since probably the late 60s, and Anita's been there most of the time during my service on the board. She has been tirelessly working for the board, and I think made a tremendous contribution to have this symphony become such an important part of Norwalk. And we are really happy to receive the support of Norwalk through all these years. And we want to honor Anita for all the things that she's done for Norwalk and for the symphony.
Okay, thank you. So anyone else who'd like to speak before I close the public hearing? All right, hearing none, I now close the public hearing and move on to public participation. Diane, and this is your opportunity to speak to that, and anyone else as well. But Diane, do you want to go first?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Tonight you have many, many important items on the agenda. I'm going to lump them into, my concerns are with two main topics tonight. The first is item 6A, which is the public schools related to the underground storage tank requests for Nathan Hale, Kendall, Roten, Fox Run, Narromek, Rowayton Elementary. The other one was Roten, Silvermine Elementary, Tracy, and Wolf Pit. I think I have them all. Over the years, I have attempted to discuss with the city, not only during budget making time, but also with when different superintendents of schools were rotated through the system, including the very last superintendent, Dr. Adamowski. With other administrations, like the Moshe administration specifically, more than his predecessors, and also the Rilling administration. And what I've discussed was the danger of delaying removal of underground fuel tanks. They are ticking time bombs. That is what is seen as the fact because of the nature of use of metal tanks and putting them underground. You ask probably, well, what the heck does Diane know about this? Well, many things professionally. It includes my work with the DEP back in the 80s when they still had only one E there, and also as a consultant. I had been hired to not only observe and review removal of underground fuel tanks, but also taking samples of the soil below to see what the extent of contamination may have been. So what happens when, and I did read the file, what happens when school, in this case, the school underground fuel tanks were left in place en masse, in other words, until approaching their useful life, is that not all of them are leaking because they're all in different kinds of soil circumstances. They all were installed, possibly the pipe fitters or the pipes may start leaking, the connections can leak. There's all different reasons why underground fuel oil tanks leak. In this case, these are larger than you'd see in a home because, of course, they need a much larger amount of fuel oil going into the school. That means you could have further and larger amounts of soil contamination. And I had discussed with the city and with the school system over the years that it would be better to rotate and remove more than all at once on 2020 or 2021, but remove them a few at a time, because over the years, the cost of soil removal, if it is contaminated, is only getting larger. The laboratory costs are getting larger. The removal of contaminated goo and the metal structures is getting more costly. So whenever, and I still haven't found out, and I did request this, when the Board of Ed, the City of Norwalk, Mr. Hamilton, Mr. Lowe, and Mr. Hodel decided to wait and do these all at once, one would say, oh, this is a very efficient way. It is not, because there is more of a chance that the city is going to pay a lot more if there is leaks. So I think it was an unwise choice, but what you have before you today is a request not only for this committee to become the building committee for these removals, but also to apply to allow for money to be spent on the schematic and the specs, and then lastly, to allow the city or the Board of Ed, in this case, to the Department of Administrative Services to ask for a grant. I do heartily request that these tanks be removed as soon as possible. I thought they were going to be removed this summer. It doesn't look like they were, but I'm not sure because of the wording. It looks like there was a delay. So I'd like to understand why that happened. But mainly I'm interested in prevention. And I think that there should be accountability as to why all of these tanks were allowed to, we wait for 30 years instead of a gradual removal that would have cost the city and its taxpayers a lot less money. Also, I'd like to know who did any of the preliminary testing, if any soil testing was done, and I will find that out from Alan or Mr. Hamilton after tonight. Number 12 on your list has to do with the city, this committee becoming the building committee for the new Norwalk High School and a few other things, drawings. I say that I want to make sure that the new Norwalk High School, and I am so happy that we were able through Senator Duff and others to get an 80% reimbursement. That's terrific. However, I don't want to see yet one other new building construction or addition go through with a lack of robust review of green building design and making electrons to offset the high cost of electricity. So some of you will say, well, wait, we're just putting the drawings together. Well, I have sat through numerous land use and building management meetings over the years where all of you are reassured, yes, yes, we will get to that. And then I look and see what we've actually done as far as solar, also passive solar. And these are kinds of things, my friends, that you have to plan for right at the beginning of the design phase, because passive solar requires orientation of buildings so that they are the best or most optimum for passive solar, which means through the windows, but also active solar on the rooftops. And unless and until we are in a mode and an attitude where we look at it right from the get-go, we are going to miss yet another school building. And I've sat through meetings when you will be reassured that we're going to look into it. The last thing I wanted to say is on number 13, Cranberry School. I am so pleased that this committee and the Board of Ed, with the help of parents' pressure and request, have a new building to be built. However, tonight you're being asked for a construction manager that will assist the design team, develop the phase plan, etc. Again, if this building is not oriented, it is an opportunity. It is a wonderful opportunity. I think it's terrific that it will be mostly a new building, except for the gym. But the time has come for us to orient buildings to optimize the use of solar, both passive solar and also active solar on the roof and beyond. In addition, the use of geothermal. Now, if you don't cite—
Diane,
Yes.
I hear your point, but we're now about 7 minutes, so.
Well, I'm the only one that's speaking, so.
I know, and
I'm
that's why I
sorry.
give you 7 minutes.
I'm
Go
sorry,
ahead.
Tom. Okay, well, I thank you for letting me speak 7 minutes because the thing is, do I sound frustrated? Yes, I am. I hope that we will meet Tom. I hope that we will find a way to, and I know you're interested in the topic. I know all of you are. I very much appreciate the council taking an interest in green building design as far as zoning. Let's do it also in your Land Use and Building Management Committee in the near future. I look forward to the opportunity to work with you on this, not against you. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak? Has anybody else signed up to speak?
There is nobody else in the public participants section.
And I did not get anything from anybody from the public.
Okay, thank you. So I'll now close the public participation portion of the meeting and turn to the minutes from the meeting of October 7th, 2020. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes? Thank you, Mr. Hubelman. Any comments, additions, changes on the minutes? Yes, David.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just have one. It's on page 4, I believe. It's in the point of the motion, just after it says Mr. Roberts joined the meeting at 7:54. I think it should read, Mr. Huvelman moved to send the request
Yes.
from Mr.
Good
Gino
good
Matera.
catch.
Just to add moved in there.
Okay, good catch. Any other changes or additions?
That was it.
Seeing none, call for a vote. Just raise your hand, indicate aye. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7. Any opposed? No, abstentions, none. So passes unanimously. Okay, thank you. All right, let's move on. Okay, first item is to consider request from the Newark Symphony to name portion of the City Hall corridor after Ms. Anita Benkin and refer recommendation to the Common Council for action. Quote, approved to dedicate a portion of the first floor corridor between the Veterans Hall of Honor and the Community Room in memory of Ms. Anita Benkin as a long-serving member of the Newark Symphony, her dedication of music into the city of Norwalk's music community. Do you have a motion? Thank you, Mr. Burnett. We've all heard the public hearing. Are there any comments on this one? To me, it seems pretty easy, but I'll open it up for discussion. Mr. Burnett.
Yes, thank you, Chairman Livingston. I'd just like to echo the comments that were made in the public hearing that we in Norwalk, we have several really important gems that make Norwalk a very special place to live. And the Newark Symphony is one of those gems. To hear the music that comes out of those various concerts and just how they're performed and organized and take place, it takes a really strong level of passion, and the same level of passion is passed down to the Newark Youth Symphony, where we prepare our young people to enjoy music and how to conduct a concert and be on time and be organized. So all of those things are very important transferable skills, life skills, I would say. And this honor, in terms of naming the corridor, is just one thing that we can really do to say thank you to the symphony and those that commit to it.
Thank you. Any other comments, discussion? Seeing none, I will call for a vote. I'm just, because we have so many items on the agenda tonight, I'm just going to call for a hand vote. All in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, any opposed? Seeing none, it is unanimous. Okay, great.
Thank you very much. As staff, Tom, just real quickly, I will put this on the Common Council agenda for next week, I guess, for
Yes.
Tuesday night for Common Council. And also, there's no issue here. I just want to remind people that per city ordinance, a 2/3 vote of the Common Council is required.
Right,
Which is a little different from normal.
right, understood. Okay, let's move to new business.
Thank you.
guys. Thank you guys very much for coming.
Thank you very much.
To the community.
Thank you.
Okay, new business, Newark Public Schools. Review request to submit a grant application to the state from the Silvermine Elementary School asbestos abatement project and refer the following to the Common Council for approval. A, resolve that the Newark Land Use and Building Management Committee is hereby established as the building committee with regard to the Silvermine Elementary School asbestos abatement project. B, resolve that the Norwalk Common Council hereby authorizes at least the preparation of schematic drawings and outline specifications for the Silvermine Elementary School asbestos abatement project. And C, resolve that the City of Norwalk Common Council authorizes the City of Norwalk Board of Education to apply to the Commissioner of Administrative Services and to accept or reject a grant from the Silvermine Elementary School asbestos abatement project. Do you have a motion? Thank you, Ms. Smith. Bill, so you can talk about this?
Sure. Let me see, am I muted? No.
No, you're on.
Okay. So what you're going to see on many of these items in front of you tonight is a common thread. In order to submit a grant application, we have to establish the 3 categories that you just read, Tom, about this particular item. But I just want to say that it will continue as a common thread for the remaining items as well. What are we looking to do at Silvermine? Much like we did at Cranberry a couple of years ago, a lot of the asbestos floor tile, commonly known as VAT, is coming loose, mostly in the classrooms, but some cases in some hallways, and that needs to be abated. We have an asbestos management plan in place. It has been itemized as needs to be replaced over a short period of time. We are now at the point where we have the funding, it's been approved. We want to implement this job over the next 1 or maybe 2 summers. We're trying to get it done all in 1 summer. That is, if we've been able to clear out the classrooms and be able to affect this program and close down the school for the entire summer. So what we're looking to do is remove all the VAT floor tile and replace it with new VCT floor tile, vinyl composite tile, much like we did at Cranberry a couple of years ago. As you walk the classrooms at Silvermine, you will see a lot of black tape that is covering asbestos floor tile that has been either removed or in some cases just damaged. That is a common thread and a common practice, but it's got to a point where there's too much of that black tape where we need to do an abatement.
Okay, 2 questions. One, any idea how much it will cost, and what is the state reimbursement rate on this type of project?
The state reimbursement rate should be the same at roughly 30%. And we're looking at about $350,000 for this project.
Wow, okay. Any further discussion or questions? All right, Mr. Burnett.
Yes, thank you. I was just wondering, have we, the work is being done because the floors are coming apart, but while we have the school buttoned up to do the work, have we looked to see if there's asbestos anywhere else, like in the window casings or in the ceilings or even the old blackboard glue, any place else in the building that where we might be able to correct that also while we have the school, closed up and buttoned up?
In this case, since the floor tile is the most obvious and the most disruptive one, we are focusing our areas there. Could there be, and has there been some pipe insulation identified behind the radiator covers? Yes, there is. But in this case, we don't have the budget nor the timing to do that as well. So at this case, it's been identified in the asbestos management plan that is updated every 3 years to identify the floor tile in specific.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, signify by raising your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, no opposed, so unanimous. Okay, great. All right, let's move on. I'm going to move items 2 through 10 together. I'll read 1, and we can substitute the names as in your own minds. So this is review request to submit a grant application to the state for, I'll read the schools: Nathan Hale Middle School, Kendall Elementary School, Roten Middle School, Fox Run Elementary School, Newark Elementary School, Rolayton Elementary School, Silvermine Elementary School, Tracy Elementary School, and Wolf Pit Elementary School. And the resolution will read, with those individual school names in the appropriate places. Resolved that the Norwalk Land Use and Building Management Committee is hereby established as the building committee with regard to the blank school underground storage tank removal project. B, resolved that the Norwalk Common Council hereby authorizes at least the preparation of schematic drawings for and outline specifications for the blank school underground storage tank removal project. And C, resolved that the City of Norwalk Common Council authorizes the City of Norwalk Board of Education to apply to the Commissioner of Administrative Services and to accept or reject a grant from the school blank school underground oil tank removal projects. Do you have a motion for all those? Mr. Burnett, thank you. So, Bill, why don't you talk about this a little bit, including Ms. Loricelli's question about timing and when this will be done, what's been going on, please.
Okay, so we have 9 tanks and underground tanks that have reached their 30-year end of use, and they need to be replaced. Most of them are 6,000 gallons, and some of them are, I think there's one here. Just one that's 12,000. That's at Nathan Hale. It's come time to remove them and replace them with above ground tanks. We have been in front of this board to approve the project, and we're currently working with Salomon Associates, who has also been approved by this board, and we are now moving forward with this project. We have the 30-year expenditure lifetime. These are mostly metal, although some of them are fiberglass, but it's come 30 years, and economies of scale is where we get our best bang for our buck. We're probably going to look, once the spec is written, at 3 contractors. And we have 9 areas. Maybe we'll give 3 areas to each contractor. So we're really being cost conscious about this. Soil contamination included. That's an aspect of the job. There's more work that needs to be done for that investigation. But by and large, it has come time that they need to come out of the ground. They need to go above ground, which is pretty much what the common thought is for all the city properties here in Norwalk. And this job, we hope to start very soon.
Now, do you know if any of these are leaking?
We do not know if any of these are leaking. No, we don't suspect that they are. There are ports on 4 sides of each tank, and they have been sampled throughout the years, and there has been no leaks reported that I know of.
And your goal is to do them essentially all at once, maybe 3 different contractors, but all at the same time?
Yes, while school's in session, and even while the heating plant is active. If we are going to draw oil from a tank that we're being removed, what we do is we put a small 200-gallon tank outside and use that for the duration.
Thank you. Any further questions or discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote on all 9 items. All in favor, signify by raising your hand. 1, 2, 3. Here. Any opposed? None opposed. It passes unanimously. Okay, thank you.
Tom, just want to add one minor thing, is that there's actually one more tank, is Cranberry. We are doing as part of the Cranberry project.
Did I miss that one?
No, it's not on there because we're taking care as part of our capital project.
Oh, okay, but it's not a resolution for tonight.
Right. Because
Okay.
we are including as part of our construction project.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, Alan, we have the school construction update next, and I was wondering, do you want to do that now, or because we have guests here? I'm wondering if it makes sense to push that to later, or is it something you can do quickly?
I think we can take up the Cranberry School discussion now.
Well, the next one is the Newark High School.
Right, but I think our guest here is on really the Y, actually. There's Y and
We've got Y, and we have some folks for the Newark High School.
Right, and no, they're here for Cranberry.
Oh, they are? Okay. No, we have Dan, I believe, is from the union, right?
Right, and this regarding the Cranberry School project is the one that we're
Oh,
looking for.
I'm
PLA.
sorry. Yeah, okay, right. All right. So, Alan, you think we should do Cranberry next?
Let's let Bob go. I'm sorry, I don't mean to favor it, but can we go for Bob first?
No
Because
objection. There's no objection. Bob's been in front of us a lot, so we'll give him, seniority here.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman
It's a little
Tom
bit
and
like old
Alan.
business.
Okay.
Thank you, Chairman, Mr.
Okay.
Chairman Tom and Alan, and thank you to everybody who is
Actually, Bob,
serving.
thank you. Before you go, let me just read the resolution and get that.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Okay, so it's item B1, review proposal from YMCA to implement interim community service programs at 98 South Main Street. Refer the following to Common Council for action. Authorize the Mayor Harry W. Rilling to execute an interim license agreement with the Riverbrook Regional Young Men's Christian Association, Inc. for the occupancy of portions of 98 South Main Street building in order to provide needed community service programs. Agreement shall be from January 1, 2021 to June 30, 2021. Terms of the agreement shall be as outlined in Alan Lowe's memo dated October 29, 2020, which was attached. Do you have a motion? Thank you, Ms. Smith. Okay, now, Bob. Welcome.
Okay, thank you, Chairman Tom, and thank you to everybody for the service that you do. It's commendable, and I know you put a lot of work into this, and I've been at several of your meetings, and I hear all of the different kind of projects that are going on in Norwalk. So I commend you all on the way that you go through the process and support the community with your service. So what was it, in September, I believe, Alan, we got together and you invited me to this committee, and we talked a little bit about the why still be an interest. We were in a pause mode regarding 98 South Main Street, and we had our attorneys working on some agreements. We also talked at that point potentially at looking at a licensure type agreement, and I'm here to tell you that we are kind of chomping at the bit, just about ready to go come January to get into the facility and start to put together programs basically that are going to be scalable and sustainable and sequential. Those 3 S's as we move forward as an organization that's really looking forward to this opportunity, despite the environment that we're in. And we want to make that happen. And so Alan and I've had several conversations, and tonight I just wanted to answer any questions you had. I'll show you basically a small scaled down schedule of programs and services. As we talked last time, we wanted to get into the facility and again just build some programs that are going to be scalable and then be sustainable along in a sequential pattern. Once the other thing that will be taking place early after we get into the facility on or around January 1, if this all goes the way we would like to, we will have charrettes in the community, the local community. We've talked with UCAN a little bit. They're trying to help us find some folks in the community that we can go through that process. And that process is about a 3-meeting long process that will bring us more information from key community residents, not just stakeholders in the community. We did that back in March when we some of you were in that meeting, I believe, back at the Norwalk Inn, if you remember, about the week before everything closed down. So that's when we were bumping elbows at that point in time. We weren't wearing our mask yet, but we did glean a lot of information out of that meeting, and thus we will continue that conversation with the community once we get into the facility. So I wanted to, if just to give you unless you have any questions right up front for me, real briefly, I wanted to show you what it could look like programmatically in the facility, and hopefully you'll be able to see my screen. Do y'all see that? Can everybody see that? Okay, great. It's big enough on there. Well, basically, this is a 7-day a weekly look at what we're going to start in with. We also know that AmeriCares is in the facility. I've been in touch with Karen Gottlieb. UCAN, we had a meeting with them, but right now they don't have a staffer in there. But we will, at least as far as I know, since the last time I spoke with them. And so we wanted to start off again, kind of light. We can't put a whole lot of resources into the facility right now until this pandemic, we get through this situation. But basically, you'll see that on Sunday and Monday, after basically going Tuesday through Saturday, we'll be closed and we'll be able to do some deep cleaning and some other maintenance type work if we need to paint a spot, move some things around a little bit, because we're not going to do any major capital work based on this licensure agreement that we could have from January through the end of June. Then we'll work on a longer term lease agreement that will have milestones in there regarding the capital investment that you all have seen before in the last year or so. So basically, we have a staff person who will have their office there, and this is just a very small sampling of the kind of programs we'll be doing. We're going to be looking at children with after school work and Girls on the Run type program that will be basically focused in on girls. It'll be somewhat athletic, but it'll also be, educational. So we'll be working with them. And on a Wednesday, we'll be doing some blood pressure self-monitoring. We plan on getting out into the community and letting them know that we'll be able to issue some blood pressure monitors, teach people how to do those kind of things. We've done this in the past in the faith community, and it's worked out really well. Mommy and Me is just a parent program. We call it Mommy and Me. It could be parent and child program. And then basically after school homework type and Girls on the Run, going through across the board. Down there, see a family fitness program. And these are just January, February. And so you can see those are the kind of themes. And if we can build in something else in that period of time, we certainly will. We also have had, a couple of conversations with some other community groups that are looking to, who actually won last week, that was looking to continue like an astronaut space program that has been running in Columbus for years. And so the parents are going to, they're looking for some space, no pun intended, in the location, so that these children could continue, and that could become quite a large program. So you could just see as we move along, we'll start to bring new programs in, music and arts and green teens and those kind of things as we move along. Saturday will be hopefully by the March through June, we'll be able to also be talking with Nick and his crew on how we can utilize some space in Ryan Park. So that's the schedule as it looks right now. It is November. We could be building more into that, again, with some dialogue with other community agencies who are maybe looking for some opportunity for some space inside in the wintertime. Again, pandemic times, we're not so sure how much that will take. How much interest there will be for such programming indoors, but I believe there will be some. We want to get down there. We want to get things started. We want to meet with the community, whether it's probably going to be virtual meetings, most likely, for the charrettes. And then, or there could be some in person, as long as we use the multi-purpose room and have the correct social distancing, and keep within the groups that the government will allow us. So any questions, any questions? We have a small budget. We will charge some fees for these programs, but we also will offer financial assistance. We're looking right now, Community Development Agency, just looking at, what the market could bear in terms of any type of fees. It might be something like, hey, it's $5 a day for that program, or $3, or however that works, but we're putting that together now with our staff team.
Right. Well, thank you very much, Bob. And I think it's terrific you guys are getting in here. Let me ask you the big question. Is there any reason to believe that, subject, of course, to a big caveat of the pandemic, that we're not all looking at, the original proposal come, whenever the pandemic allows? There's no change to your plans or intentions, is there?
No, there isn't. We still believe, in talking with several of our donors in the past month, even that there's still opportunity for funding that project. We also want to make sure that when we discuss with Darren, those milestones have to move a little bit. It may take us a little bit longer to raise the capital, but right now the early indications are that there is still some funding available, Tom, and that's great for us, because we were concerned about that. The financial situation of the Y is like any other agency that depends on membership fees, program fees, along with contributions. Membership fees, program fees have taken a slide considerably, but believe it or not, contributions have gone up. So there is a charitable spirit out there amongst private citizens, where we haven't even talked to corporations or private foundations or public foundations at this point. So, you know, we feel very confident that we'll be able to make some, again, starting off this way was kind of a godsend because, you know, if we would have gone the other way, then we would have had to adjust those milestones anyway, but we would have been in it for a much longer period of time. I think this licensure arrangement is good for both sides and doesn't involve overcapitalizing early on from our end. It gives us a chance to ramp up.
Yeah, I think it's great. Any further discussion?
I just have 3 staff comments. The first one is the detail of the terms is actually in my memo. So I'm not going to go through them, but if you want to read up on it, those are the terms of the agreement. The second piece is that originally we were planning to transfer the property to the Y as of April of this year. But since that we have this delay due to the COVID, the building management department did not request any operating budget for this building for this year because we anticipated the property would be transferred to the Y. So as on earlier this week on Monday, the board estimate approved the funding for operating expenses for that building. So we are able to continue the operation and maintain the building until June 30 of next year. So the expenses for building it's covered by the city, regardless whether the Y comes in or not. So that's taken care of. And we will continue to monitor COVID and how it impacted the project. And at some point, we'll come back to the council to actually, we may have to change the date on the council approval in terms of long-term agreement, but I'll see. We'll figure that out. Other than that, I don't think there's anything else. I think that's it.
Any, Mr. Keegan?
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Chairman. I have a question, I guess, for Alan on the license agreement. In your bullet points, the 4th one down, it says city will provide utility and building maintenance services, which will include HVAC, building infrastructure, maintenance improvements. Do we expect there to be anything major there? Have we inspected it?
No, we've been managing. I'm sorry. We've been managing the building for the last maybe 2 years. So we had some initial repairs. We fixed some leaks on the roof, and there's like a gas line that wasn't on the roof that wasn't well protected. So we fixed that. We do some mechanical improvement to manage the equipment. So we did not make Band-Aid. We did not make Band-Aid repairs. We actually repaired with anticipated we'd be continue to run the building for years to come. That doesn't mean that it's not going to fail or anything, but it's just that we're taking the step to do the right thing and continue. So I'm not anticipating any major improvement needed in the near future. And we didn't, again, the improvements we made it's real improvement. So we weren't planning to just give Bob the building and let it fail on him either. So anyway, but yeah, overall we are pretty good with it. If something happens, it's not by we're doing the right things. And also I talked to Darren Callahan the other day, Attorney Callahan the other day. We do not believe that this needs to go to a planning commission for approval because it's not a long-term agreement. It's over 6 months. So it's called a license agreement. It's not a lease that we are signing. So if the committee approves it tonight, we'll go directly to Common Council next Tuesday night.
Great. Any further discussion? Greg, Mr. Burnett, you had your hand up first.
Yes, thank you. Bob, just a quick question about one of the program items, the after-school program. Is that in conjunction with the Newark Board of Education, or is that a separate entity that the Y is going to be offering? And the second part of the question is, are you providing transportation, or will families be required to drop their student off and pick them up after the program individually?
Yeah, great questions, Greg. Thanks for asking. Yeah, the program right now is modeled after what we do at Columbus and Fox Run. So we'll be seeking some licensure for that program, but it'll be more around the homework help for an hour or so. As far as transportation, we do not have arrangements for transportation at this time. So we could certainly, if that's a needed item for children, we can certainly, look into that and try to arrange for that. But we don't have that in the budget right now providing transportation.
Okay, Ms. Smith?
Just wanted to add that I'm pleased that we're able to get something going here, and it feels like a little bit of momentum, at least until COVID subsides. And I think that the programming seems really appropriate for the time, focusing on the homework help, some health and, focus on teens. Can you tell me a little bit about the Girls on the Run program?
Yeah, it's a model program that Marianne Gennario will bring. There'll be some fitness for that. There'll be some community service. There'll be some educational component and homework help and things like that with the Girls on the Run. We want to give that group of girls that self-esteem. It's interesting, going through this whole political season, how many young women are growing up in the political world, and where do they get their starts, and how do they get that confidence that those mentors build in. So we're excited about the program. It's not something we're just making up. It's a program that we know about, and we're going to use that type of curriculum and those guides.
Great. Thanks.
Thank you, Barbara.
Any further discussion, questions? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, signify by raising your hand. Any opposed? None. So it's unanimous. And just a note to the stenographer, just to be clear, for avoidance of doubt, I've been saying unanimous, but we are missing one member of our committee, so it's unanimous of all members present. So just to be clear. All right, I'm going to go, beg your indulgence. We're going to move back now to Cranberry, right, Alan? You want to do that next?
Sure.
Okay.
I think I have Jim start going through a little bit of the action item. We are looking to approve the construction manager,
Yeah.
Cranberry School.
Would you want me to read the motion?
Oh, yeah. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, okay, so this is number 13 for those keeping score. Review construction management proposal for Cranberry School Improvement Project and refer the following recommendation to the Common Council for action. Authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute an agreement with Newfield Construction, Inc. as the construction manager for the Cranberry Elementary School new construction project. Terms of the agreement shall include the following: A, pre-construction phase services, including reimbursable allowance, $76,000. B, CM fees, percentage of total trade bids, 1.12%. C, CM contingency, 1.5%. Following the bidding process, final contract, CMP will be submitted to the Common Council for approval. Account noted. Have a motion, please? Anyone? Thank you, Mr. Hooman. All right, Alan, you want to talk about this? We'll have Jim. You should do it, I think.
Yeah, maybe I just start. Yeah, Cranberry is one of the major projects that we are proceeding on. We are looking to basically build a new building, but we are trying to renovate it, continue to use the gym, renovate it, and continue to use the gym. It helps us save some money. But at the same time, then Jim was talking to the state. They have some concern about that. Just today, I guess you talked to him today, right, Jim?
That's right. We had a what they call a prep meeting this morning about the project, and they did have some reservations regarding our plan on keeping the gymnasium. They are going to take a closer look into it and get back to us. We are also going to take a look at what it would cost to remove and build new gymnasium. So we're both looking, on our end as well as the state's end. They were concerned with some reimbursement issues relative to keeping the gymnasium.
And right now we hired the architect, and we also hired a surveyor. So one of the issues that we're looking at is placement of a new building, orientation, and where it is. Initially, we did a study, and we're looking at the front of the property. But since then, we thought that there may be another option to put on the side. We're looking at the building on the left-hand side of the property as a potential location. So the surveyor is probably out there this week, I believe. And one of the concern we have, not issue, is that there are wetland in the back area. So there's a certain amount of setback that we have to respect in terms of placement of the building. So that's something that we're looking at. So after the surveyor complete the wetland delineation, we'll be able to kind of look at for one last time to see what's the best placement of the building. There's not that many options, either in front or in the side. And after we build the addition, thereafter we will, during the second summer, we will demolish the existing building, and then as September comes, then the new building will be fully operational. So there's still a lot of decision to be made in terms of after that we determine where the limit of wetlands are. So we are looking to set up a building advisory committee. So at this point, we went out for RFP for construction manager. I believe there was 6, right? I forgot what it was.
Something like that, 6 or 7.
Yeah. And then we shortlisted to 4. We interviewed 3, and we got proposed from 2 of the firms that we feel there's 2 or 3. I think it's 3 that the most qualified. I'm not even looking at my notes here. So in any event, so those are the numbers. They were the Newfield Construction. It's a contract, a construction manager that we know of. I mean, we work with currently. They just finished Pullman School projects, and they are also the contractor for Jefferson School. They have done very well for us, and then we picked them one of the 3 firms to get a proposal from, and they turned out to be the lowest in terms of the fee structure. And therefore we recommend them for approval.
Alan, can I jump in for a sec?
Sure.
I just want to highlight that, this, as noted in Alan's memo, this is the first project to incorporate a project labor agreement, or a PLA. And we have some representatives of the building trades to talk about that a little bit tonight. But I just want everybody to be aware of this is a little different. We haven't done this before. It's sort of a trial, but I want everybody to understand it. So maybe, I don't know who wants to speak from the building trades, just to sort of give a brief overview of what a PLA does. Maybe, I don't want to go into the whole 45-minute presentation you gave the other day, but perhaps you can give a sort of brief outline of some of what it does, what some of the issues are, and how you address them, and so forth.
Bob, you want to talk? You're muted, Bob.
Bob, you're muted?
All right, sorry, guys.
That's right.
I'm still not used to this technology and and the Zooming, although I've done more Zooming in the last 4 months I haven't anticipated. Well, thank you for having us tonight. And basically, a project labor agreement is a construction delivery method for coordinating the various trades and contractors that work on a project. Here you're looking with Newfield, and we have a couple of projects, one that's about to start with Newfield under a PLA. And what a PLA does is it coordinates all of the activity on the job. It assists the construction manager by making uniform terms and conditions of the various trades that would work in the construction of the building. So if you think about the site work, the contractors coming in, if there's demolition, then the site work and the building going up, instead of having the various trade contracts, you'll have one super contract that will take care of things that you may not think are important, but start time, break time, holidays, uniform. It makes uniform conditions. In addition, the PLA provides opportunities to employ local residents. The unions presently have a couple of hundred of their members in the Norwalk community and a couple thousand of them in Fairfield County. So it keeps the local community involved in the project. We are allowed to give preference to residents to work on the project. We also set goals for, depending upon what the community is seeking, for minority participation, women participation. We have a great program called Helmets to Hard Hats, which takes veterans leaving the military, and we put them into the trades and give them career opportunities. The PLA is, there's a statute in Connecticut that provides that PLA is actually a sound public policy. Any contractor can bid on the project, whether they are a union contractor or not union contractor. And any individual can work on the project, whether they are a union member or not. There's not compulsory union membership. And that's one of the myths. They say, oh, if you have a PLA, contractors can't all bid and workers can't all work. And that's simply not true. By statute, any PLA must invite all qualified contractors to bid, and all qualified applicants for employment must also be considered irrespective of their union membership. So it's very much like a deli line. You take a number, and if you're a qualified craftsperson, you can be referred to the project. Trying to think, we did distribute, I assume you received the PowerPoint presentation, which I guess was actually a couple of years old when I finally saw it again. It was provided to the town. There were a bunch of examples in there of some of the aspects of a project labor agreement, and I'll be happy to answer any questions anyone may have. Again, I know you have a busy agenda.
Yeah, so yeah, we do. So I just want to ask one, because you mentioned this, and you did send around a draft through Leisha of a PLA you had with, was it Stratford? And anybody in the committee who wants it, I can get them out to people. In that agreement, you have a, I don't know if commitment's the right word, but you make good faith efforts to achieve a goal of 20% Stratford residents on the project. Things, and I just want to make sure we would get a similar commitment for Norwalk. Is that?
Absolutely, yes. And if you look in the PowerPoint presentation, Killingly is a very good example where we not only met but exceeded the goals, depending upon what the community wants. And again, you would sit down with your construction manager, and Newfield is familiar with PLAs. As I said, we signed a PLA with Newfield in September of this year for a school project. So yeah, whatever is important to you as a community to have in that project, yeah, that would be open for inclusion. And it's not uncommon to have residents, as I said, as well as minorities, women, whatever you want, we tailor make it to fit the needs of your community. One of the things I didn't mention is we also provide apprenticeship opportunities to local residents, for the kids. I shouldn't say kids, most of the apprentices today are in their mid-20s that have decided that they want to work with their hands or work in the trades, and it's one career that cannot be outsourced. So we do offer career opportunities, and we offer apprenticeship entry-level opportunities for your residents.
Well, thank you. Are there, Mr. Keegan?
Yeah, hi, Mr. Chairman. I have a question, Bob, if you may. You said that contractors do not have to be union contractors to bid on the project under a PLA, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. I read somewhere if they do win the bid that they are then required to join the union or pay some kind of union dues. Is that correct?
No, that's not correct. Now, what would happen typically is if a non-union contractor were the successful bidder, they would follow the terms of the PLA for that project only. So their employees, they would be allowed to bring key employees along, but the other employees that would supplement their key employees would be referred through the unions, and that's where the commitment, so your residents would apply, so that the employees that they brought with them that did not want to join the union, they would not have to join the union. There's no compulsory union membership. They would pay an agency fee, okay? They would pay an agency fee, and that's basically what federal law provides. So there's no compulsory membership whatsoever.
Other questions on this or the whole project, the whole item? Mr. Burnett?
Yes, thank you. The one I did review the PowerPoint. The one item I didn't see is if there's and not anticipating there would be any, but if there is any issues with the PLA, while the project is going on. Is there any kind of reversal clause where we could pull out of the PLA, or is it, once it's started, it's set to the completion of the project?
It is set to the completion of the project. I can tell you that we have never had a request to terminate a PLA during construction, and we have a consistent record of projects coming in on time and on budget. So that hasn't happened. If you noticed in there is a grievance arbitration procedure. So in the event there were a dispute of any kind, there is a mechanism for resolving those disputes.
Thank you.
Sure.
Other questions, comments, discussion about the item or the PLA? Okay, seeing none. Oh, Barbara, go ahead.
I just like to add that I support this this first time effort to use a PLA. We are trying it for the first time as a city. I particularly like the apprenticeship aspect of it and the veteran aspect of it. I think that when we met the other day, I mentioned this, and I think it's worth repeating, that we have a lot of young people coming out of high school, young men in particular, who and women, but who aren't really sure where they're going, or maybe they college really isn't for them. And we really need people in these trades. We really need them. So I think this is really important, and I think that it can be good for our community.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? Okay, and then I'll call for a vote. All in favor, this is the item, which is of the retention of Newfield construction. All in favor, signify by raising your hand. Okay, opposed? None, so it is unanimous of the members present. Okay, thank you guys very much for coming. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you
All
for
right.
having us.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
Good night. Thank you.
All right, Alan, back to you. You want to go back to this quick school construction update, or you want to go on to back to the items?
You're muted, Alan. You're muted.
What time is dinner? Oh, I'm sorry. All right, so yeah, we go, Jim, if we could quickly go through the building update, and then we got 3 items, Newark High School, and thereafter we got what you call it? We got
Guardian,
Naramic and
Guardian.
building management. Okay.
Did you want me to share my screen or just kind of go through a quick update?
Just go through it, unless there's something you really want to show us.
PONUS, we are done. However, we did have a punch list walkthrough a couple of weeks ago to review the punch list progression with Newfield, Perkins Eastman, the architect, representatives of PONUS School, and representatives of the Board of Ed, IT department, as well as security. We got the punch list down to about 7 or 8 items. We actually since then have rectified the majority of those items. So PONUS is moving along very well. We're very happy with the progress, and quite honestly, the team that we had there with Newfield, that project was very successful for the city of Norwalk. Cranberry, as we stated earlier, we had a meeting with the state to review the scope of the project. They did bring up some concerns with us keeping the gymnasium. We have to work through those. We're taking a look. The architect is going to take a look at creating a new gymnasium and how that would work logistically on the site, as well as the state is going to take a look at, on their end, their concerns regarding keeping the existing gymnasium.
So I'm sorry, I meant to ask this when Alan was saying it, but so what's the issue with the gym? Is it just location?
No, we submitted, so we were conservative in our submission to the state regarding the type of project that we submitted on. For instance, Norwalk High School was what they call, Ponus was what they call a extension and alteration, which means we get a higher reimbursement rate because we're not doing a brand new school out of the ground. We're adding on to an existing school and we're doing some miscellaneous renovations. Jefferson is a renovate as new, so we get a larger reimbursement rate because we're keeping the shell of the building and bringing everything up to a 20-year standard. Some years ago, there was a project where the district essentially demolished all but about 10% of the square footage of their school and said that it was a renovate as new. The state kind of caught on to that and said, you know, we're not going to look at that anymore. You have to keep, in order to qualify for renovate as new status or extension alteration, you have to keep a minimum of 25% of your existing square footage. So we fell under that. And as a result, we said, okay, it's a new school, which would qualify us for a lower reimbursement rate, which is 10% lower than the normal. So we typically get a 33.21 reimbursement rate. On a new school, we get a 23.21 reimbursement rate. So we were being a little bit more conservative in that respect and being fair to the state. And the state is concerned about that. With regard to ineligibles, which I'm a little confused on, and they're going to have to explain to me a little bit more in regards to that, as well as you know, how they're going to administratively execute this project. So they needed some time to take a look at it. They wanted us to take a look at the possibility of building a new gymnasium. And there's some ancillary spaces off to the west of that gymnasium and create that new, it's roughly around 9,000 square feet. So we are going to have the architect take a look at that. I am going to work with the construction manager to get some pricing on that and see where we end up budget-wise. So we are meeting with the state next Thursday at 2 o'clock to review the findings of the architect, as well as the state is going to hopefully, I don't want to say rule, but at least give us some clarity as to their concerns as to why we're asking for new status rather than renovate as new. And I told them, I said, we'd be happy to take the renovate as new if we qualify for it. We have no problem with that. But then they started explaining some concerns that, you know, we're going to have a brand new building and have a 1959 structure for a gymnasium. So we're going to have to talk that through more next Thursday.
Okay. There's more to come next month. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
So, I mean, so that's really the major thing about Cranberry. Jefferson, actually at the next land use meeting, we're going to be requesting that, Tom, you sign off on the SCG 042. I think you're familiar with that. We are going to the Board of Ed. We have a facilities committee meeting scheduled for next week, in which we're going to present the drawings and specifications and the cost estimate for their approval. And then we're going to go to the full board the following week to have them sign off on the SCG 042 as well. So that means we're scheduled to go to the state for their final approval to go out to bid on December 16th. And this is why we have to go through these approvals with the Board of Ed this month, because we would not make the schedule if we waited until December. So that project is moving along. Narramick also is moving along very well. We had surveyors out there at the end of last week. The architect, the Antonazi Associates, is working on, and they had people within the building looking up above the ceilings for existing mechanical and electrical to make sure that we can do tie-ins. And the design is progressing on Narramick as well. Columbus remains, as well as Norwalk Global Academy, both remain in review with the Board of Ed and Building and Facilities Management. Board of Ed is looking at some options. And Norwalk High School, as you're all aware, was approved by state legislation. I have been working with the team that put together the schematic design back last winter, as well as the schematic design estimate to see where we have some savings. And I actually have a meeting with them on Friday morning to review where we are with the budget on Norwalk High School.
Great.
Okay.
All righty. Any questions on that? Okay, let's move on to
Item 12.
Item 12, Newark High School. So this is a review request to submit a grant application to the state for the new Newark High School project and refer the following to the Common Council for approval. A, resolved that the Land Use and Building Management Committee of the Norwalk Common Council is hereby established as the building committee with regard to the new Norwalk High School new construction project. New school construction project. B, resolved that the Norwalk Common Council hereby authorizes at least the preparation of schematic drawings and outline specifications for the new Norwalk High School new school construction project. And C, resolved that the City of Norwalk Common Council authorizes the City of Norwalk Board of Education to apply to the Commissioner of Administrative Services and to accept or reject a grant for the new Norwalk High School project, new school construction project. Have a motion? Mr. Burnett, thank you. You talk, Barbara?
Can I just state something for the record, if you don't mind, because this is the first significant vote on Norwalk High School, and in the past I had recused myself from any discussion and votes on Norwalk High School, but I am no longer employed by Norwalk Public Schools or Norwalk High School, and so I will be participating from this point forward.
Your loss is our gain. Okay, good. Alan, do you want to talk about it a little bit? I think we all know that we had budgeted a higher number than came in. I know you guys have done a lot of work, as Jim was alluding to, but maybe you can walk us through this a little bit.
Yeah, I think, Jim's mostly done most of the work here, so I'm going to have him explain all this. Bottom line is that we have original budget we developed is $225 million, and the state approved $189 million for the project. So for the last 2 to 3 weeks, a little more than 2 weeks or so, Jim has been working with our conceptual designer and also as a estimating team to see how we can bring that number down. So I'm not sure how much detail you want to go through, but at the same time, since you asked, Jim, you're going to go through the various things that we've done, try to bring it to $189 million.
Sure. A couple of things that we got together as soon as we knew what the approved amount was, and we took a good hard look at the square foot area, the estimates, as well as the design. A couple of things that we did to bring the budget down was we looked at keeping the science wing that was built, I believe, in 2008, 7, 8, somewhere around in there, Alan.
I would say like 2006.
Okay, so we're going to keep the shell of the new science wing. We are going to do an interior renovation. I call it a kitchen renovation. We're going to put in new science cabinets, new flooring, new ceilings, new lighting, new plumbing fixtures. So we reduced our costs significantly there by not having to, one, demo it, and not having to, two, build a new shell. We have the infrastructure there in place. I told them to look at it as, again, a kitchen renovation. We're not going to reconfigure the interior. We're going to leave it the same and just upgrade everything. The other thing that we took a look at was we were calculating what they call the gross up factor twice. Both the estimator and the architect accounted for a gross up factor. And what that means is when we look at a school construction project and we talk about square foot area, we talk about what they call the net square foot area, which is inside face of wall to inside face of wall. So when an estimator, an experienced estimator that knows Connecticut school construction gets an estimate and he has the net square foot area, he automatically adds additional square foot area for going out to the exterior or the outside face of the exterior wall. That usually represents around 3 to 5% of the overall square footage of the building. So the architect had already accounted for that. The estimator was unaware. We were able to reduce the overall square foot area. I forget the exact amount of square footage, but we were able to reduce it, thereby reducing the cost of the building. We then took a closer look at HVAC systems. And the estimator that was working on, that is working with us had just recently bid some projects in the Fairfield County area. And he adjusted his HVAC unit costs. The other thing that we took a look at was the exterior skin of the building. You know, during the schematic design, the estimator obviously doesn't know exactly what the building is going to be, what kind of materials are going to be used on the exterior skin. So they account for usually a mixture of different types of exterior skin. But in this case, masonry exterior with a steel stud backup. So what that means is we are doing a budget-based design. So therefore, the selected architect is going to have to design the building to the budget that we give him for specific components of the building. We also looked at the roof and the roof system and made some adjustments to the cost there. So we have been able to save some significant money, and we're continuing to look at different areas. I've also met with Frank Costanzo, the assistant superintendent, to take a look at some programming and any possibilities that we might be able to save some square foot area in some of the program areas. And he is working on that and will get back to me either tomorrow or Friday in time for my meeting with the architect and the estimator on Friday morning. Any questions?
Barbara?
Okay, 2 questions right now, Jim. First, is there a plan to add bathrooms to the science wing? I know that that has long been an issue, that they were eliminated when that science wing was added. So I'm curious if, if that's been talked about at all at this point. And then the other question I have is regarding the masonry exterior. Like, what exactly does that mean? Because, I kind of see the current Norwalk High School as masonry exterior, and we all know how we feel about that. So if you could give me a little more detail about what that might mean.
Sure. Masonry exterior that we're looking at would be a block, brick, combination of block and brick, a little bit more architecturally pleasing than what you have now. And in terms of adding restrooms to the science wing, we haven't really gotten into that level of detail at this time. But that is something that we will consider moving forward once we understand where we are with our budget.
And will the community be able to see, the design, the exterior design? I mean, that scares me. I have to be quite honest. Masonry exterior, because look at what we've been looking at for all these years, and that's a little bit of concern for me.
Understood. And yeah, it's I don't see why as the design progresses and we have a better idea of how the building's going to look, that we can share those concepts.
Okay. Thanks.
The Burnett?
Yes, thank you. A real general question. So we're going to keep the science wing. Are we actually going to tear down everything else and build it new? Or are we just maintaining the outer skin and building everything new inside? I'm not clear as to what this design looks like.
In terms of the science wing only?
Yeah, you said we're going to maintain the
Yeah.
science wing, so we're not going to touch the science wing. So a very general question, are we going to tear down everything else around the science wing and build that new? Or are we going to maintain the outer skin of the building and build everything new inside of that skin?
That's a good question. We did take a look at keeping the pool and removing the interior of the existing pool, but keeping the skin, the exterior skin, kind of what you're alluding to. After we took a hard look at that, we realized we're only saving $1 million, and also we were kind of restricting ourselves from how we can move forward with a design. The other thing that we looked at, Greg, was keeping the existing gymnasium. Again, that kind of limited everything to, it dictates how you're going to move forward with the design of the building because you have to tie everything in. One of the problems with keeping the existing gymnasium, the area of the gymnasium and where you have the basketball court and then the two sides with the bleachers, it's about 11,000 square feet. And then you have another 11,000 square feet underneath that really does not have much of a high ceiling. We kicked around the idea of maybe making that lower level a mechanical room, but it was just so much more space and it really wasn't conducive to any other space other than storage. So we abandoned those ideas and didn't think that they were both fiscally prudent, nor also created some problems with us with the moving forward with design on that.
Conceptually, I think people, the public, they hear, $189 million that we're getting a brand new high school, meaning they're going to knock down the present high school and totally rebuild a new one. And it sounds like that's not actually going to happen.
Well, it's other than right now, other than the science wing, that is going to happen.
Okay. All right.
And just to be clear, so Jim, would the exterior of the science building be changed to match whatever else the exterior is the rest of the building?
That's what, again, we're not that far down the road, Tom, but that is something that we were a little concerned with because we didn't want it to look so much different than the rest of the building. So, as we get further along in concept, and really this is going to start taking place where we select the, we're going to have to go through the architect selection, CM selection, and other consultant selections, just like we do on all the other projects and what you approved this evening. So what we're trying to do is just kind of come up with a parameters for and get the budget down to the 189, and then let the design teams know what those parameters are, what makes up that $189 million budget, and then let them use their creative their creativity to come up with what they can do within that budget.
Mr. Keegan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think, Jim, you just answered my question, but I wanted to ask it anyway. I hear you. We want to save money here. We want to save the gym. We're going to keep the pool. We're going to just use concrete. And it sounds to me as if we don't have enough money to build the school. Is that true?
I wouldn't say that just yet. No, I think we do have enough money to build the school. We're just going to have to be prudent in how we move forward, and challenge the designers to come up with creative ways to achieve the goals that we want to achieve.
Just one other question. I'm sorry, just one other question about where the school is going to be built. Is the plan to build it in what I know is the softball field in the front of the school, which is really the back of the school? But is that part of the plan?
That was the initial, when we did what they call kind of a block diagram to see how the building would fit. That's where we proposed that it be. One thing too, Tom, is, we don't have, the existing site is not big enough for us to build the whole new school and then tear down the existing school. There is going to have to be some phasing. And also we looked at, phasing obviously is costs money. And that's another thing that we're looking at too, is the design of the building and how do we build this building where we limit our phasing. And that's one of the things that we're going to be looking at Friday morning. So yeah, it is. We don't expect to be able to build the whole building and then tear down the existing. So therefore, yeah, we are looking to put it on what you would call, or what I refer to as, the softball field. And there are plans to replace the softball field.
As you hear, there are a number of open questions.
Yeah.
They got more work to do, which is what we're authorizing them to do, right?
Right.
Yeah, there's no question that we're struggling with the funding. So we are looking at ways to include the pool, how we can implement the pool, and the cost of the pool. The pool itself is about $8 million, right? So how much it costs to build the pool. And we're looking at see how we can share that. Instead of doing the locker room for the pool separately, we're going to try to place the locker room for the gym and adjacent to the swimming pool, so that we can have one locker room to service both uses. But the pool does create a financial, within the existing budget, creates a financial difficulty to figure how we can include it into the project. So we are struggling with that right now. So there's no question that money is tight, but at the same time, it's we need to go through it. We are at a very preliminary stage. I mean, the design team and the estimate team are not full architectural services we secured. It's just really a study team that we created. We have to go out to hire full architects and construction manager. So all that process is upcoming. We need to submit it to the state to meet the deadline of December 31st, so that we can get this going. And then next week we have to bring it to the board of ed to update any education specification that we need to do to submit to the state. So there's certain approval that the board also had to do in order to meet the December 31st deadline. So this is very beginning of first step.
David?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. The question I have, so sort of echoing what Councilman Keegan sort of brought up, is do we have the money, A, and then B, if we're spending this kind of money, are we also looking at, long-term sustainability, the potential for solar or any sort of, renewable energy and those types of things, which again costs money, which again doesn't sound like we're on a path to be able to explore those things for the money that we're at. So we're just moving the ball down the field to find out if we can actually do this. Is that where we're at right now?
Yeah, one thing, Dave, on every project that we do, we're required to meet what they call Connecticut high performance building standards, which does take into account some form of renewable energy, maybe not to the level of, full net zero or, fully sustainable on renewable energy. However, that Connecticut high performance building standards meets a what they call a LEED silver equivalency. But also Norwalk looks at renewable energy on every project. We did that for Jefferson. I think you were,
We brought the team in to do a presentation to the committee, and we look at geothermal, we look at solar.
And we look at that in relation to the initial cost, as well as the savings to the district or the city as time goes on, and make a recommendation or make a it's up to the city to make a determination as to how they're going to move forward, whether it's prudent for them to move forward with certain renewable energy sources. We are putting photovoltaic panels on Ponus. We have them planned for Jefferson as well, and on all our projects. Again, we do look at geothermal. We've looked at geothermal for Jefferson, and we'll look at any types of renewable energy sources for the high school as well.
I just want to add two other things. Currently, Norwalk High School has a cogen. It's cogeneration because we are using we can generate electricity locally on site, and then use the waste heat to heat the pool. So that's something we have in the building. So those are things we will continue to look at as possible for the future. And also, when we look at a compliant, meeting the state requirement of high performance building, which is generally speaking at least silver, when we do that for Jefferson and for Ponus, we haven't considered solar energy to be added to the equation to calculation of energy savings. So just based on the school without solar, we are actually meeting the requirement that's at least silver already. So when we do the solar piece, it actually brings us to a higher level of energy conservation. So addition to at least silver kind of ranking.
Mr. Burnett.
Thank you. Just keeping on the theme of finances. So when we first costed out the school at 225, if my math is correct, the 80% reimbursement would have been 180, and we would have been committed for 45 million. But now the state has set a ceiling at 189. So now their contribution would be 151 and our contribution would be 38 million. So essentially the city is saving $7 million on this project. But my question is, do we have the flexibility of spending more than that 38 to make the project more than 189, or the state is saying you can't go beyond 189? You've got to make it work with 189, and that's it. So
we could go over it, but we won't get any reimbursement for that portion that exceeds 189.
Okay, so
you can go over that, but and you knowingly going over that, the city will want documentation from Common Council as well as the mayor that they are aware that they are going over their allocated funding, and they will be responsible for 100% of the amount that they're going over the grant.
Okay, and do you think, would the state frown upon Norwalk by doing that, or is their expectation that we would make the design work at the 189?
They'll probably push that you make the design work at 189. They really, it's up to the city of Norwalk, quite honestly, as to what they want to do. If they want to spend more than what was allocated, as long as they're aware, again, and they document that they are aware that they are responsible for the full amount above the grant, above the state grant.
Jim, I think the term is we.
Yes.
It's not they.
Yeah, maybe you can spend a minute to go through, what has to happen before this is actually submitted to the state in December.
So, the first step is tonight's approval. They are what they call the resolutions, and every state funded school project has to approve these resolutions. You approved them previously this evening. For the oil tank removal projects. The other thing that we have to go through is, I believe the city has already approved the funding. ed specs were approved by the Board of Ed back in February. However, if we're going to make adjustments to those ed specs, which again, I'm working with Frank Costanza at the Board of Ed, I have to get those ed specs approved again because of the modifications that we may make to them. So in order to get that done, we have to bring it to the Facilities Committee of the Board of Ed, which would be next week. I think we're targeting next Thursday to do a Facilities Committee meeting. The Facilities Committee will approve those ed specs and present them to the full board. I think it's at the November 17th business meeting. The reason that we need to do that now and not in December, because we do have until December 31st to submit the grant application, is we need the meeting minutes approving the approval of the ed specs, as well as the approval of your actions tonight of the resolutions. So they don't take it on face value that the city of Norwalk has approved the resolutions. They want to see the following minutes of the meeting where you approved the meeting minutes that approved the resolutions. The same goes with the Board of Ed. So you have to kind of do things 2 months ahead of time in order to meet the requirements that the state requires. So again, like I said, we have to get the educational specifications approved this month in order for next month, when they approve the meeting minutes from November, that we have that approval. So that's one of the reasons why we're asking, this evening and also moving forward with the Board of Ed approvals this month. So that way we have those approved meeting minutes that we can present to the state in our grant application. We do have much of the grant application already put together. Obviously it's going through some tweaks with the estimate and conceptual design, as well as other miscellaneous items that the state requires. We've gathered that already. So these are the big items that we need to get approved by the city and the Board of Ed.
And just to be clear, approving this tonight does not obligate us to actually build a school for 189 if we don't think that works, right?
Correct. Also, if you want to take it a step further, one of the resolutions that you were approving tonight is to accept or reject the grant application.
Right. I know. Farmer?
Yeah, on that same topic, I obviously the thing to do is to move this forward so that we can do that. But I have a few comments in that I find that this reduction from 225 to 189 has really put our city and the school district in a really very difficult place, and I'm really disappointed by it. I've heard tossed around, oh yeah, you can build a high school for 150 million, or you can easily build this high school for 189 million. But the reality is that we are building 3 high schools in one. And the whole point of this this reimbursement, the 80% reimbursement, is the regional aspect of the 2 programs, the PTech and the arts and music, the performing arts part of it. And so when you're building 3 schools in one, obviously you need more money to do that. And so I'm just so disappointed in that, in the state and in the reduction of those, the funding. Additionally, I just have to talk about the pool, because, this idea that we could lose that pool, and, obviously it doesn't have, an academic aspect to it that the state is really going to recognize, but our community needs that pool. You know, we don't have a pool, a YMCA pool any longer. And so the community has really come to depend on that pool for our underserved kids to get swimming lessons. And in my opinion, we can't afford to lose it. So, you know, I don't know, can we, you know, continue meeting with the state to push for more funding? Because, you know, you may just go back to Mr. Keegan's question, you know, or can we really build this school for 189 million?
Any further discussion or comments? All right, hearing none, I'll put it to a vote.
I'm sorry, Tom, just quickly, by us approving this now, are we approving the $38 million also?
No, you approved the $38 million, I believe, back in April, if I'm not
I think
mistaken.
it's 50 million. I think it's $50 million.
Yeah, we approved the $50 million as part of the budget.
Right.
Yeah, this is actually less, as you pointed out.
All right, I just wanted to be clear on that. So, I mean, the dollars have already been set aside. So,
Right.
Okay, very good.
Okay, any other comments, questions? Okay, all in favor, signify by raising your hand. It is unanimous of all members present. Thank you. All right, Alan, one last
Yes.
item, am I correct?
Huh?
One last thing, Guardian.
The two more items, right? We got next one. It's actually Newark school.
What? All
Approving
right.
the construction manager.
Oh, okay.
You gotta read the action, please.
Yes, sir. Review recommendation for construction manager for Newark Kitchen Cafeteria Improvement Project. Refer the following to the Common Council for action. Authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute an agreement with AB Tucci Inc. as the construction manager for the Newark Elementary School Kitchen Addition and Interior Renovation Project. Terms of the agreement shall include the following: pre-construction phase services, including reimbursable allowance for $10,000, CM fees at 4%, CM contingency at 5%, general conditions cost for $156,975 to be finalized during execution of GMP amendment. Following the bidding process, final contract amount will be submitted to the Common Council for approval. Account noted. Do I have a motion? Anyone? Thank you, Ms. Smith. Alan?
Jim, you wanna go through it quickly?
Very quickly.
Sure. Again, we went out for RFQ and then separate RFP for CM services for Newark kitchen addition and renovation to create cafeteria and media center. We received 5 responses. We shortlisted as required by the state to 4. We interviewed 3 of those 4, and then we issued an RFP to 2 of those 3 that we interviewed. Shawmut Construction Company, as well as AV Tucci. When we received the RFP responses, we reviewed and trued up the responses, and AV Tucci was determined to be the lowest responsible respondent. AV Tucci is a local Norwalk contractor. We have used them before at West Rock's windows replacement. They did a fantastic job for the city of Norwalk. They also have done other projects for the city of Norwalk, of various sizes and
They
complexities.
couldn't doing the elevators at the Norwalk Museum. Sorry, Jim.
No problem. So we consider him a very good contractor, and obviously recommend that we move forward with their approval.
Can you go for the schedule really quick?
So the schedule, we're in design right now. Design is looking to be wrapped up by the end of March. We'll go through state and local approvals for the month of April, go out to bid and start construction. I think we have it in mid-May. So construction will happen between May and November. We're looking at the possibility of once the school dismisses for the summer is when we'll do the interior work and get out of the way, and then finish up the kitchen addition in September and October with completion the end of October. So it's a fast-moving project. It's not very big.
Total
What's-
project is $3.5 million.
Correct.
Comments, questions? All right, hearing none, all in favor, signify by raising your hand. Okay, unanimous of all members. Oh, Kadeem, are you in? Yeah, here it is. Okay, unanimous of all members present. Okay, last
All right,
item.
Jim, thank you.
Thanks, Jim. Okay, item B2. Review proposed fees from Guardian Services for a new contract with the city for building management services and refer the following to the Common Council for action. Authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute a contract with Guardian Services Industries, Inc. to provide building management services, including management, engineering, and janitorial services for various municipal facilities from January 1, 2021 to June 30, 2026, base period with 2 additional 1-year renewal options. Annual fee shall be as set forth on the resolution. I'm not going to read all those numbers. And funds are available from various operating budget accounts. Do I have a motion? Mr. Hooverman, thank you. Alan?
Yes. The building Office of Building Management has basically 3 functions. It's managing all the city building, and then plus the engineering portion, which is like mechanics and people that do repair on the boilers, miscellaneous repairs, painting, or other things throughout these. We have about 13 buildings that we are managing, and also janitorial services. I came to land use probably twice already. The reason being is that currently these services are provided by Guardian Services, and their contract expired as of June 30th of this year. And the discussion was that because the building management services is really entwined into the city's operations, it's like a department of the city. My recommendation is that we don't change those staffing for management as well as engineering, because they are the one that familiar with our buildings and stuff. We don't want to make any changes. So for those 2 components of the contract, we're going to negotiate with them. And for the janitorial services, my recommendation was to go out to bid and see what the market brings in terms of potentially maybe a little less cost. The committee had previously supported this recommendation, and since then, because of COVID, on July 1st, we actually extended the agreement for 6 months, so they give us a little time, because during COVID, we need to provide certain services. I don't want to impact our ability to manage and to provide services, and especially during COVID period. So recently, I sat down with got a proposal from Guardian for management and for engineering services. And you will see in the attached package, there's a lot more information in there. It's kind of broken up. It's complex. We originally got a proposal from them for 5 years plus 2 option years. But because the proposal started from January 1st, does not line up with our budget process, which is July 1st. So I added another half year to it. So it kind of like the start point is off by, in terms of the increases and union contract, because some the engineering it's not a city union, it's a national union. So then the agreement date is actually October. So actually I did a lot of math in terms of adjusting those numbers and stuff, and came up, and then everything is documented into the attached memo. So we got a proposal in September. I refined it in October. And at the same time, purchasing department went out RFP for janitorial services. And we have, I forgot what it is. I gotta read my memo. There's so much stuff going on. I think we got like 5 or 6 proposals, and turned out that Guardian's proposal was the lowest among all the proposals we received. And as a summary of those proposals, actually we got 6 of them. The fee was based on 5 years for a total of $581,000 for the first year, with increases thereafter. So I converted that into also a 7.5-year program. So they line up with the management contract. And so all this number get adjusted, and then the way I calculated it's all shown on the attached memos. So at the end of the day, we probably, I don't think we really save any money in terms of overall costs, because there are annual increases that goes into it. But I think what we proved is that Guardian service numbers through the years is still very competitive. But at the same time, did we get better pricing than I think what it shows is that the price that we've been getting, it's pretty much market pricing. Without going into all the detail, we are funded this year to cover all these costs for this year. And next year, we have to, based on performance, we have to increase our operating budget to cover the future contract amounts. So we're pretty close to what our performance is anticipated to be next year.
Any questions, comments? Okay, seeing none.
Tom, you muted.
I'm muted, so you guys did that by you did it automatically.
I think I wore everybody out.
Pavlovian.
I think you just hit it because we heard you start to ask.
And then I raised my hand. Hey, I don't say anything. Okay, so for the minutes, unanimous of all members present. Okay, Alan, anything else?
No.
Okay, do I have a motion? Mr. Keegan, thank you. All in favor? Thank you guys very much for.
All right, thank you.
Very productive. Thank you, Alan.
Bye.
Bye.
Good night.
Good night.